All right, EDU visual project. Before we begin discussing the data analysis of this implementation method, first I'd like to share some background. In this scenario, Mr. Johnson is a seventh grade science teacher who implements a new teaching method that has hands-on experiments and interactive simulations. To evaluate the effectiveness of this teaching method, he administers pre-test and post-test after each unit. There are 4 science units. In addition to the assessment data, he also collects survey data on student perception about their learning experience after the implementation. To analyze this data, we took the average scores of each pre and post unit assessment. We then inserted the results into a line chart to show the trends over time. Overall, there was a growth from pre to post assessment. The bottom right chart shows more detailed data of students who averaged in their average in each range. This shows the students' averages over the 4 unit assessments and compares their averages from pre to post test. You can see that many students moved from the red range to the yellow range from pre to post test, and the passing range of 7.1 to 10 increased from 0 students to 4 students.
Mr. Johnson also gave a perception survey. The survey items were rated on a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 represents strongly disagree and 5 represents strongly agree. You can see on the graph the 5 questions, the 5 items that were listed. We calculated the average score for each question on the survey and then placed that data into a graph. We also calculated the average score for each student. As you can see from the graph, most students did respond favorably to the instructional methods. The average scores for each question ranked above or slightly above a 4. Looking at the individual student responses, there was some variation, but most responses were scored above a 3.1. You can also see that the item felt more engaged in class, which is yellow, scored the highest. The survey also included open-ended questions at the end for students to add comments about their learning experience. We placed those into a table and used conditional formatting to show positive and negative comments from each student. As you can see, the findings were evenly split between positive and negative. We do feel that these comments can be very useful and can help direct instruction.
So based on the assessment data, there was an increase from the average pre-test score to the average post-test score. What our second finding, we saw that most students responded favorably in the survey, and a majority of students responded with a 3.1 or above. And our final finding, we noticed that there was an even split between positive and negative comments on the survey responses.
It is our recommendation that we revise this instructional method and continue the implementation of this teaching method. We would suggest using the information that the students submitted from the surveys to make adjustments. Most students did respond favorably to the survey, indicating that they felt mostly positive toward the items listed. However, we feel that most of those open-ended responses, positive and negative, could indicate where revision will be most helpful.